What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. We're still doing 3 videos a week right now, so we don't want you to miss out on any of those future videos. So make sure you're subscribed and got the notifications on and all that good stuff. So we are officially here into late summer, into the fall. It's my favorite time of year to be fishing. It's my favorite time of year to be throwing this right here, topwater baits. That's what we're gonna dive in here today. I'm gonna walk you guys through the little setup that I've been throwing here lately. You know, the fish are schooling here in Tennessee. They're chasing small little bait fish and busting on the surface. It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite times to be fishing. So I'm gonna walk you through the whole setup, what I've been throwing to reel in a few bass here lately. Okay, so like I said, this time of year, you know, it can be pretty tough fishing. I'm not gonna lie. You know, the bass get really keyed on small little bait fish. You know, basically this year's hatch of bait fish. There's little clouds of small, you know, 1 to 2 inch size threadfin shad in my area, but really anywhere you go in the country, the bait fish may be a little bit different, but generally they're focused on this year's hatch of small little bait fish as you get into late summer and early fall. And, you know, imitating that can be hard. We actually just posted another video on the channel where I kind of go through a little rig that I like to throw for schooling fish. So you can go back on the channel and check that video out as well. But another great option, especially for when the bass are busting on the surface and you want to get a little bit bigger bait and kind of target some of those bigger fish out of there, is a topwater bait. You know, there's tons of great options, and really, you know, topwater fishing, it's very niche. You know, I'm not gonna lie. There's times where I want to throw a big walking style bait as the fall goes on. You know, you're just targeting less fish, but bigger fish. But this time of year right now, I like actually a little bit smaller bait. So we're gonna dive into the whole setup I have right here. And you guys can see I actually have a little front runner rigged up here. So this is the Bill Lewis Zigzag. It was released at ICAST last year. It's a cool little bait that I've been playing with, and it's really cool for when these bass are schooling. So let's dive through and let's go through the whole setup. We're gonna start with the rod and go from there. So the rod that I like to throw topwater on, I like a little bit shorter rod. So this is a 6'10" medium action. I like a shorter rod because this is a rod tip down technique. You know, you're twitching that bait with your rod tip down. So if you had a longer rod, you'd end up hitting the water, or hitting the boat, hitting things as you're twitching that down. So I like that shorter rod for this technique. So I like to throw braided line for my topwater. I got 40-pound Seaguar Tactics braided line on this reel right here. This is actually a little bit smaller reel because you know, it's a topwater rod. We're throwing a little bit smaller baits this time of year right now. So this is actually a Corrado, I believe it's a 71 XG. So it's a fast gear ratio, 8.1 gear ratio on the reel. Really, you know, the reel doesn't matter a whole lot on topwater fishing, but I always like a faster gear ratio. That way you can reel that bait in quicker and make another cast if those fish come up schooling or you missed your cast or something like that. So that's the main reason I like a fast gear ratio on my topwater setup. So, like I said, 40-pound Seaguar Tactics braid, and I run that braid all the way down to the zigzag. So this is the Bill Lewis Zigzag right here. It's got a split ring on the front, and I tie the braided line directly to that right there. And then on the back, I actually tie a little bit of a mono leader down to your topwater. So this is 15-pound mono right here. I just use, you know, whatever I got. This is actually a prototype line right here, but I use a lot of big game, you know, once in a while. It's just a great little topwater line. And then you get down to your favorite walking style topwater. There's tons of great options. This is actually one that my buddy Spencer gave me. This is a Yozuri pencil. This is a nice little bait, catches a lot of fish for me. But any walking style topwater, a spook, you know, Really, I'm looking for more of a walking style topwater than say like a popper style, like a shower blow or something like that, with this zigzag, because I want that bait to be walking behind it and almost chasing that zigzag. So we have the Yozuri pencil on the back. That's the setup right there. This is what I've been throwing at those schooling fish. You know, the zigzag is really cool because, like I said, you have your spook topwater back here, but it almost looks like he's chasing a smaller bait fish. It looks like maybe a smaller bass chasing a shad, and it really triggers some of those fish to come up and steal that bait away from him. So yeah, I've actually been catching a lot of fish on just the zigzag because he's coming and stealing that bait from another bass, maybe. You know, there's lots of theories behind this, but this is just a really cool setup. And another thing, you know, it actually helps you cast a little bit further. It adds a little bit of weight and gives you a little length to the thing. So you kind of have to roll cast this bait. You know, this is not a setup where you're making very precise cast. You know, this is open water schooling fish because you have to leave a decent amount of line out to be able to make a cast and get it out to where you're going. So you can't reel the spook up close to your rod tip and make short little precise casts. This is, you know, you're winding up and whipping this out at fish that are schooling. So that's what I'm throwing this setup right here. But that zigzag's a cool little addition to any topwater, and like I said, it definitely triggers some extra bites whenever there's multiple fish blowing up in an area, chasing little bait fish. You know, it actually imitates that small little bait fish. Like, that's about the size of the bait fish that they're feeding on this year. So it's just a cool little addition and allows you to catch a few fish that maybe you haven't or wouldn't have caught just throwing a singular topwater out there. Now, as far as retrieve on this, you know, it's going to be very similar to any other topwater, you know, but the main difference for me, especially when the bass are schooling, is I want to be moving that bait quick. I don't want to be working it real slow. I want to be moving it very quick, keep it moving, kind of create a reaction out of them, get them aggressive, get them chasing it. And that's when you're going to end up catching one. You know, I don't want to just throw it out where they're schooling and just work it real slow. Speed is going to be your friend when the bass are schooling like this. But that's the setup right there. That's what I've been throwing. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Have you thrown the new zigzag, or have you thrown a front runner style bait like this? This is the time to be doing it. You know, like I said, when the bass are schooling, that's when you want to be throwing this style bait. So curious your guys' thoughts. As always, please drop them in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, thoughts, concerns, all that good stuff. Any other video ideas you guys have, please always drop them in the comments. Let us know what you think about future videos. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you learned something from this video. That's the goal of the channel, is to help you guys learn more about fishing and take this, apply it to your own fishing, and catch some more bass. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.